You don't have wheels on your car, so there is no speeding up. This is like the death knell. Senior leadership, particularly the CEO, stops showing up to meetings. Yep. If we allow senior leadership to just be like, oh, you guys are the marketing people, or whatever in their mind they've labeled marketing as.
They were crushing it. Amazing leads, amazing pitches. They were reaching their enterprise clients. They had landed a couple $1 million deals, but their overall revenue, plateau. What's happening? They were losing clients just as fast as we could help them land them. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Marketing Blender Show. I'm Dacia.
And I'm Daisy.
Now, today we are talking about something a little oogie, but this is important because it's unfortunately common. We are going to talk about when B2B marketing consulting goes wrong. Now, one of our core values is truth. And so we are going to tell the truth. We're going to own some of the mistakes that we've had in the past, what we've learned from them, and come super clean about what happens in this industry and why B2B actually really is harder when it comes to marketing. So, it's frustrating and sad when we have clients that don't get the results they want or that type of thing. But all you can do is own it and be super committed to applying those lessons to future engagements, but less about what happens when our clients don't go wrong, because thankfully this doesn't happen very frequently with us. But holy cow, I would say, what do you think? 90% of our clients at least have come to us with horror stories about tens of thousands of dollars, if not years, wasted on marketing that produced nothing.
And I would say that's the story we hear about clients who come to us after 1, 2, 3, 4 other marketing agencies. So they're having this experience over and over again where that marketing consulting has gone wrong somewhere and they're not sure where. It's like it seemed cool at the beginning and there was all this interesting stuff that was happening, and then where were the results? And that's the number one thing is around, I just didn't get results from it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny to think about our history because when I first started this agency, it was because at the traditional agency I was working at, I was attracting a lot of B2B clients because my entire background was sales and B2B sales inside of B2B complex selling environments. And so all of a sudden I'm like, ding, ding, ding. Wait, there's this huge market, underserved, that is not getting good advice. And the advice really needs to be centered around pipeline management. Anytime you're talking about B2B, it is what role does marketing help to drive more revenue? And so B2C has a lot to do with demand generation and brand and far away influence. Whereas you have to take all of that into consideration in B2B and really track with the buyer's journey, because eventually B2B is going to stand for belly to belly selling, and marketing needs to have set you up and filled the pipeline so that those sales reps are closing more deals. But it goes without saying, in the beginning, we were just a B2B agency. So even though we had a niche and we had a point of view that was really strong, we were still selling services and tactics. And it's a very far journey we've come on where now we really hang our hat on outcomes, because that's really what people in B2B are asking for. Nobody wants to buy marketing. Nobody wants social media. Nobody even wants leads. People want revenue. And I think that's probably one of the core places that things go wrong, is because as simple and obvious as that sounds, all of a sudden when you start adding marketing jargon and tactics, it's very weird how that alignment around revenue growth starts to disappear like mist.
It does. And that perspective of being able to look at the entire revenue funnel is definitely one of the things that clients are surprised by when they talk to us.
Yeah.
When we're like, okay, let's look at your P&L. Let's build a revenue scorecard. Let's understand the drivers in your business. Let's make sure that we are sitting with your sales team and understanding what's happening for them inside the sales process.
Yes.
Those are not things that a marketing agency does.
No. And I get so excited by those things because they're transformative. They're transformative, obviously, from a revenue strategy standpoint, but also culturally and about those aha moments, because when it goes right, now you have a virtuous circle and virtuous cycle of input throughout your entire organization that marketing can actually facilitate. And I just get all fired up about what's possible. So I think before we dive in, I mentioned a little bit about this. I think I want to mention a few of the things that we see go wrong, like some really common things that you hear from traditional marketers and from traditional marketing agencies. And so one of the ones I see is agencies or marketers being like, we need to redo the website or we need a new logo or something. Yes. No, we obviously love and value visual communication, but I always want to go, is the website the revenue problem? Sometimes it is, but is it every time? No. And I get really frustrated. And we have a few clients whose websites are, excuse my language, butt ass ugly. And I'm horrified by that, but they don't need to fix their website yet in order to hit their revenue goals. And so we are being patient and strategic around that. And I just don't put them in our portfolio since we didn't build those websites.
Yes. It does take discipline to solve the right problem. It takes expertise to identify it, and it takes discipline to solve it. Yep. I would say the second one is that marketing agencies that focus on doing marketing stuff, even if they're thinking to themselves, well, we're going to, aim at the revenue problem, they're actually looking at that from a tactics standpoint.
Yeah.
So all of our customers need to be doing Google Ads, or all of our customers need to be doing whatever magic bullet they've identified that works for enough of their customers that they're like, well, odds are we'll get, enough of our customers successful with it that's good enough. It's not good enough. Tactics first is not good enough when it comes to B2B. It has to be strategy first.
Absolutely.
And that helps identify the right tactics, because we rarely find two B2B companies where their full list of tactics is the same from one to the next. It's always a different set. Now, there are some that recur over and over again. For a lot of our clients, Google Ads are appropriate. Yeah. For some of them, it will never work in a million years. There's no point in even going down that road.
Yep.
So the tactics first is another big one that we see.
I agree. And, there are times when that tactics first approach is going to work. But for how long? And this is what really drives me crazy. So let's pretend the whiz bang new thing, LinkedIn campaign, Google AdWords, something is like, wow, influx of leads. Let's pretend it's even an influx of quality leads. Everything in marketing changes because marketing is about human behavior, and humans change, markets change, which means tactics lose effectiveness. Platforms go out of style. Everything changes. And so the abdication of responsibility around risk and around long-term thinking and around not putting all of your marketing eggs in a single basket, so when that stops working, you are majorly screwed, is really important. And that's why that strategic focus, really, really matters. So it's not just a flash in the pan, we got lucky, because that's basically what you did, even if it did work for 12 to 18 months. I'd promised the audience that we're going to go ahead and dive into times when we've gotten things wrong. Don't love this, but growth mindset. Like, we actually do focus on this a lot and iterate our process in order to learn from this. And so one of the first things I think it's important to own, and that I think will benefit our audience, is when we take what we know for granted and we don't repeat the rationale and educate the client on, don't forget, this is why we're doing this. Let's go back to the framework. Look back at the marketing plan. Look back at the strategy, and continue to kind of consistently beat that strategy drum so that everybody is building a point of view around marketing that is consistent and sustainable and agreed, that aligns the entire team. And I think there's been times where we think, okay, we said it one time, they got it. And then 6 months down the road, things are starting to get a little screwy relationship wise. And we look back and it's like, okay, the client heard it once, but that's not enough to really hold on and change the paradigm.
That's very true. And it's easy to forget that it took years and years and years and years to accumulate the marketing expertise.
Yeah.
And although a CEO doesn't need to understand all of the parts of marketing, they have to understand how to make decisions around marketing, because at the end of the day, the buck does stop with them in terms of what they're doing. They should have enough understanding of the core fundamentals of B2B marketing that they understand what decisions they're making.
Yeah, agreed. And what I find ironic about this is we talk to our clients so much about beware the curse of knowledge, but we have fallen under that curse at different times. And I do want to bring up one other thing about personality types that I think might be beneficial is that a lot of CEOs are high Ds, or they're very directive. They have a very fast paced, a very fast cadence of decision making. And so you have a tendency to accidentally not want to waste their time. And I think that leadership and strategic mindset, like tapping back into, okay, let's define what a waste of time is, because reiterating strategic rationale is not a waste of anyone's time. And it can be done in effective 5-minute spots as long as there's this great consistency. So I think that's a really big deal. So that's
Very
probably one of the first ones I want to own.
I think that the second one, and we've learned this, through the years, is that sometimes, again, it's about oversimplifying. We want to get clients off to a good start. Let's look at what your first 90 days looks like, what your first year looks like. And we know that marketing never stops, that there's not an end point, and it never levels out where you can just coast either. To your point earlier, it's going to constantly change. So helping our clients understand that it's building a system, an end-to-end system that keeps growing and expanding, through acquisitions, through talent branding, through your next blue ocean idea.
Yeah.
Like there's not a point where, okay, we got our marketing set up and it's running. So we've definitely missed the boat on that in the past with clients thinking, oh, well, we got our marketing set up and now we're done.
Yep. No finish line to marketing. It is the lifeblood that your business needs to run on. I love this next one. Failure to communicate effectively about results. So it goes back to something that I mentioned just a moment ago, where I said nobody's really wants to buy marketing. Nobody really needs leads. Like they need revenue growth, or they need tools and systems to achieve their goals. And when the paradigm is off, where we're overly obsessed, we or the client, around a specific metric or lead quality versus zooming back out. We have one client in particular that's been with us for years. And so, but this is the fight to always remind ourselves to stay in that seat, because they always want to distill down to how many live meetings have they had. And there's so much more revenue opportunity and growth opportunities when you keep a system perspective and they just keep obsessing. So anytime they get nervous, anytime they get scared, anytime they get overwhelmed, it's the one metric they zoom back in on. And it's like, stop. That is not the only KPI that matters. Back up, and always maintaining that accurate narrative around where are the real outcomes going to come from. And so I think the lead one can be a real distraction, which sounds weird from a marketing company, but we're driving revenue. Let's be open-minded about where it comes from.
That's true. And sometimes even if clients are getting like an amazing amount of high quality leads, we've had them be like, well, this just isn't working out. And we're like, what? Well, are you looking at the same data? Apparently not. So being very proactive about communicating around, we agree on what success looks like, and that doesn't change just because somebody had a bad day or they decided something else was important.
And I'm going to add something on to that. I don't know if it's further on in our notes, I can't remember, but 2 things that we've learned the hard way. Do trust but verify. Do not necessarily believe if they say they have a 50% closing ratio and we're driving enough quality leads and they're being validated by sales and the revenue is not moving how it should be. There's a sales problem that needs to be addressed. And we've seen this number of times. I mean, we have one client that we worked with for just about 18 months. And I literally told the CEO, you need to stop working with us. Now they're still great friends of ours, but it was because you could see it in the scorecard. Those sales reps could not close a door, let alone a deal. And I finally just said, you're wasting time. We are filling the pipeline that you guys cannot harvest. Stop spending money on marketing. You've got to really solve this sales problem. And there was some culture stuff and all of this. So it was not a sales problem that we were going to be invited into. There have been other times where we are, but that was a big one. The other one, client churn. Like, holy cow, that's probably one of the bigger heartbreaks that we've had is one of our technology companies that was SaaS Plus Consulting. So they were crushing it. Amazing leads, amazing pitches. They were reaching their enterprise clients. They had landed a couple $1 million deals, crushing it. I was like, this is going to be one of our best portfolio things ever. But their overall revenue, plateau. What's happening? They were losing clients just as fast as we could help them land them. And to this day, it was a heartbreak. But that one client changed our entire paradigm of what we insist on being invited into, because marketing can and should help support long-term client lifetime success. And, we didn't have the time to help them with that. They just got frustrated. And there was an abdication on the CEO's part around that. Like, that's just ops, leave them alone. And we've never done that again.
No.
Because revenue. So that one was a heartbreaker.
Right. This next one, we see this happen from time to time. This is like the death knell. We know that a client is on the way out when senior leadership, particularly the CEO, stops showing up to meetings.
Yep.
And this is not the CEO in their mind is probably, I'm delegating.
Yeah.
They're not. They're not recognizing that, this is the part that keeps you in business because it has to do with revenue and it deserves your attention.
Yeah.
But if they're coming at it from the perspective of this is just the brand stuff and the whatever. Okay, brand drives your profitability.
Yeah.
Marketing
Valuation
should be driving your revenue.
Yes.
And so, if we allow senior leadership to just be like, you guys are the marketing people.
That thing over there.
You take care of that. That's just social media stuff or whatever in their mind they've labeled marketing as. And that's on us when we don't stand strong and be like, investing your time and your attention on doing this right is essential for success. It's not optional.
100%. Because it's only every single thing you stand for, everything that sells for you when you're not in the room, everything you represent, everything you fight for, everything you fight against. That's, and every bit of lifeblood for your future success, your future revenue, and your future growth. Only that. That's only marketing. Like, that should never be abdicated. Like, that is always a role, a seat at the senior leadership table that needs to have an appropriate voice that is aligned organizationally and operationalized. And so I completely agree with you that abdication, around senior leadership is such a big, huge danger. Okay, I think this is the final one that's like the big one where we've gotten it wrong, but maybe not. Not owning the narrative. So for fast-paced companies, it is very easy to forget at month 12 where you were 12 months ago. And so it's very easy to be like, well, leads took a 15% decline this month. Like, what is going on? And to want to sink into a frustration or me versus you type of scenario, whereas backing up and being like, can we remember you had zero lead flow, you had a lot of issues, and now you have predictable and sustainable outcomes. You can look, we're projecting, what you're looking at, and you hit your growth goals that you weren't sure that you would hit. And it's really surprising, and I will own this as a CEO myself, that it is so easy to be focused in the problem of the moment versus celebrating and seeing where you are in the journey. And marketing is a journey. Like, there is a maturity spectrum where for most of our clients, not all, but we're coming in and we're problem solving. Kill this, keep this, turn this on, clean this up, track, fix your messaging. I mean, we are hardcore problem solving. And then we're building new benchmarks and baselines for what's possible and your beta, your minimum viable product of your system, if you will. And then we're up leveling the system and getting into ongoing maturity, operational, approach, and a widening of the pipeline and the reach. Like, that's a maturity spectrum. But when you don't see it like that, and that's really, we own that because that is up to a CMO to go, okay, here's where you are on the map of progress and success. And when we miss that opportunity, we miss opportunities for collaboration and for perspective that will actually accelerate success instead of distract from it because of short-term gains.
What if you're a small business, a startup, or even a nonprofit? We serve you with the same strategies, processes, and frameworks that help you grow no matter your business size or your business stage. In fact, the smaller your business and the smaller your budget, the more important it is to get real advice from a chief marketing officer so you can stop wasting money, start getting more of your ideal customers, and keep more of the customers that you have. If you want to learn more about how to do that affordably, talk with me about our Marketing Blender Lab program. So we've talked about us. We've taken responsibility for the things that we've messed up in the past and what we're working on to do better. So time to talk about how B2B clients often sabotage their own success.
This is a big one. And, and this is not finger pointing. I mean, we are so big on collaboration. And I hope for anybody that hires any agency or fractional CMO that this helps them get real clarity around what a successful relationship and a successful CMO can do for them. So, number one, which we solved, 6-7 years ago, anybody that wants to skip the foundational strategic planning, nope, because that is hoping for success instead of planning for success. If you do not go through those core functions, which in our process only take, 8 to 12 weeks to get your entire system built before launching. If you won't go through that, which is quote unquote slowing down in order to speed up. I disagree with that phrase because I feel like, we're solving problems that you haven't ever been able to solve and we're doing it in a single quarter.
You don't have wheels on your car, so there is no speeding up.
Yes, exactly. So that is the number one. And it doesn't, I have seen people say, well, I'm more aggressive or I'm a hard driving CEO. To what end? So this is a huge one. And literally our workshops, our strategic approach is a prerequisite, for us being able to help scale a company's success. So,
all right. Number 2 is oftentimes B2B leaders think that marketing is a switch that you flip on. You put in the money and the leads come out. Now, that's not an unreasonable thing to think if you've been exposed to a lot of marketing agencies that promise you that that's how it works. Oh, just give us $40,000 a month to run your Google Ads campaigns, and the leads will fall like ticker tape, right? It's never true. So nope. You can be forgiven for thinking that, but the fact is that marketing is much more complicated than anyone has had the courage to admit to you before. So it is a solvable problem for B2B companies, but there is not a simple solution. So every time a CEO says to me, well, it's time to switch on the SEO, right? Or we ran the social media campaign, where's the leads from that?
Yeah.
It just comes back down to educate.
Yeah.
So there is no silver bullet. There's no quick fix in B2B marketing. There is low-hanging fruit, and we're always looking at what's the most rapid ROI that we can get for each client.
Absolutely.
But that's a tactic. Mm-hmm. Let's solve this problem for now, but it has to be that larger strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. And a segue kind of off of that, it's going to sound different, but it is so closely aligned with that, is you need to be sharing your financial numbers and your revenue numbers with your chief marketing officer. Because if you are tasking someone with driving profitable and sustainable revenue growth, don't you think they need to know where you're starting from? And this is a really big one because we get a lot of great questions. I approve of this question. How much should we be budgeting? What's inappropriate? And you and I have gone down multiple rabbit holes, done the research thing, and come full circle with we have our very distinct point of view around budgeting, that it is not just a slapped percentage on, gross annual revenue. We have a tendency to look at gross profit instead, but it's because you have to think about the business model, understand the cost structure, understand what goal and how aggressive that goal is, and then align a budget that is realistic and sustainable to be able to hit the goals, but also for that company to feel confident about and that you can track real return on investment. So sharing the numbers is huge. And we don't have a lot of clients because right now it's pretty much a requirement. Like, we are sensitive to the fact that there are some people that have been burned and very nervous about that. So we have a lot of carefully selected ways to extricate what we need versus just, feel all vulnerable, like you're out there, that type of thing. But wow, the results when we really understand how money is flowing through the business and what to prioritize and what to not prioritize, like unprofitable revenue, absolute game changer.
I think the next one is around just not holding up their end and doing their part. Now, at Blender, we're very conscious that the people we're working with are extremely busy. So our goal is to take on as much of the doing as we can.
Yeah.
But that 10 to 20% that's still on the client because they have to take action, whether it's just review the stuff we send over to you in 48 hours instead of 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Or give us access to the technology stack that we need access to do work for you, or make sure that your sales team is putting stuff in the CRM.
That one, huge.
Yes, exactly.
Huge.
They have to do their part.
Yeah.
Because we can't do all of it for them.
Yeah.
Outsourcing is not like outsourcing an entire function of your business where you don't touch it anymore. It's, bringing in those outsourced resources, that fractional CMO or that fractional marketing team to do their job. But you wouldn't expect them to be like full-time employees in your company and you're like, well, you never come into the office and we don't talk to you, we don't communicate with you, we don't share with you, we don't provide any support or resources for you, and you don't know what anybody else is doing. Like, our clients have to collaborate.
Agreed. I think I see this also when there is in-house marketing talent, where our long-term engagement is CMO only, not CMO plus team. Occasionally marketers get to wear the multiple hats of, hey, can you just do this for me? Hey, can you be sales support? Hey, can you be internal operations support? Hey, can you just put this thing together for me? And so many additional requests and tasks can be piled on a marketer that busyness distracts from the strategic process that leads to revenue outcomes. And so that's also another component. I mean, it's another reason why all of our processes also plug into operating systems, whether it's EOS and Traction or any of the others out there. But we want high levels of clean and clear accountability on the attention and time side, not just on the money side. So I think that is absolutely huge. Saying they want one result, but wanting to focus on the tactic. We kind of mentioned this one already, so I won't belabor it, but it is important. I think clients can get distracted because of emotion, because of fear, because they saw their competitor had 20,000 LinkedIn followers and that ticked them off. And they're like, why don't we? Well, because you need revenue growth. And for today, achieving 20,000 LinkedIn followers is not going to get you there. That's later down the road. So, being obsessed about a specific tactic, something your niece recommended or your daughter that just got a marketing degree, or something that you saw from your favorite brand or your competitor, where all of a sudden it's a distraction and a focus on a tactic versus the outcome, where they go, well, why aren't we doing that? Well, it's fine to ask your CMO, why are we not doing that? Because there should be a good answer, but don't get obsessed about it. So
next bullet point, under investing in marketing. Again, we kind of touched on this one as well.
Yeah.
But it's about the mindset of, well, here's our spare change from between the couch cushions.
Yeah.
This is what we can afford to spend on marketing. So, and sales is often trying to pull at the marketing budget because their activities are about near-term revenue.
Yeah.
And so leadership often sacrifices their future growth potential for the what can I get right now? And they fail to invest in marketing because they don't realize that's 100% of the future revenue potential for their business.
Yeah.
Because B2B buyers are not calling up their salespeople out of the blue and have a conversation. They're consuming content. And guess what content that is? It's marketing content.
Yeah.
It's the people who are ready to buy in the future that are the future of your company. And you're not reaching them with sales conversations right now. You're reaching them with marketing.
100%. There's such a difference between seeing marketing as a cost structure or cost center versus what if we're in a completely dramatically different place a year from now, and what's happening. But you can even look at it from a short-term perspective. So this was interesting. I had a call with a prospect just the other day, very nervous about, well, how much is my media spend going to be? And I said, well, we don't even know if we're going to recommend media spend. I'm not going to just be like, oh, for you, Google might want to charge you $4,000 a month or $400 a month or $40,000. No, I don't know. We haven't gone through the process. And he's just overly obsessed with that. And I said, okay, let's flip this conversation around. I said, let's just do a couple what ifs. What's your average deal size? High end, $150,000 per deal. Low end, $20,000 per deal. I said, okay, let's pretend we did turn on media spend and it's $5,000 a month and it takes you 4 months to close a deal. You spent $20,000. Is it worth it if it was $150,000? Well, of course it is. I said, that is the conversation a CMO has with you. That is return on investment. That is thinking logically through the numbers and calmly and really mitigating risk around additional spend and setting yourself up for success. And it was just such a weirdly fun scenario because I'm like, even if you don't hire us, I want to go like reframe the investment component around marketing and what's possible. Because when he told me his average deal size, I almost fell out of my chair because it was so misaligned with how he was seeing marketing costs. And I was like, oh, bless your heart. Wow, we could help you a lot if he wants to be a really great collaborator.
Yes. And the thing is, it is possible to spend a whole ton on media and not get any results. And we see that all the time. But guess what? That's because people want to skip the foundation piece.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the difference between, oh, well, we spent $100,000 on Google Ads and didn't get anything out of it.
Yeah.
And we took 8 to 12 weeks to really figure out exactly what we're doing. And then over the next 6 months, we actually started seeing leads coming in and closing deals. So it's about, back again to the term discipline, it's about having a disciplined approach to marketing.
Absolutely. So, okay, we've talked about leadership not participating. I want to add one to that really quickly. No decision by committee.
Oh gosh.
Strategic planning is about creating decision-making criteria. Every person in the company that can sniper decision-making criteria needs to be at the strategic planning table, or they should not have a voice in this. So just discipline around what authority and what voice do you give to people. And don't ask your wife what she thinks about the color yellow. Like, yes, share with her things, but do not abandon strategic thinking, even inside of branding and graphic design. But so I just wanted to kind of go, okay, we need to talk about that one. But there is one that I want to touch on also quickly, focusing on competitors too much. So we've touched on this one also, but obsessing about the competitor that you hate, where you are constantly checking every single thing they're doing, is very dangerous because it's starting to teach your own brain that they're doing everything right. You don't know that. You can only see from the outside and you can only make assumptions about what that's doing. And we oftentimes vehemently disagree with what the market or the competitors are doing. Mm-hmm. And we are intentionally being like, no, we are going in the other direction because we know results are in the other direction. And that's the has been. That's the, well, we've always done it this way, or this is how we market in this industry. And so focusing on competitors is one that we see that's a major distraction.
And you're exactly right. There's a lot of stuff that can be going on behind the scenes that's impacting how your competitors are marketing. Like they've been given advice about, oh, this is the next big thing. And it may or may not be true. Yeah. They may have gotten a big chunk of funding and they're going on a spending spree. See that one a lot.
Yeah, we do see that one a lot.
So don't assume your competitors know what they're doing.
No, exactly. Okay. Procrastination. Now, procrastination often comes from fear. It comes from overwhelm, or it comes from perfectionism. For me, I do not care where it comes from. That is failure to launch. And if you can't launch, you can't learn and you can't win. So this one is huge. Like when clients are hedging their bets, no decision is a decision. You're deciding not to launch and not to progress. And so this one is so dangerous. And I just want to encourage anyone, no matter what type of marketing agency or marketer you're working with, decide to decide. Decide that the second you make that investment, this is forward, continuous progress and nothing less.
Absolutely. And it is difficult if you have that perfectionistic tendency to say, but what if it doesn't all go right? It won't all go right.
No.
Marketing has a lot of trial and error in it. It shouldn't be trial and error with no strategy behind it.
No.
But you can expect that some things are going to work and some things are not going to work. So you have
100%.
you have to have the steel in your spine to get through that.
100%. Okay. I think we've got a couple final ones on ways for people to not sabotage. Don't chase chaos. Do not chase chaos. And here's what I mean by that. If you have a quick turn deadline, ask yourself, is there a magic bullet that will dramatically transform your outcomes in 3 days? The answer is probably no. And chasing chaos usually just means throwing money at something because of an emotion that's driving you. So this is a big one. I feel like this is a symptom that it's healthy to go, wait, there's a lot of confusion and overwhelm and emotion around this. Shh. Okay, why are we doing it? Fundamentally, what are we thinking? Why is this important? No, we have quick turned many things, but I just always want to say, just because you have a lot of intensity around something does not mean it's the right thing.
For sure. All right. Oh, we get to talk about the next one. So focusing on personality. It's very important for you to be able to trust your marketing leader and your marketing team. It doesn't mean that they have to be your most favorite kind of person to be around. A lot of us like to be around people who are most like us. Sometimes the best fit for someone in your CMO role is someone who has a very different personality from the one that you do, because they are going to hold you accountable and offer a different perspective in a way that someone who sees the world through your lens just can't.
Oh, so true. And we don't let our clients choose their CMO because if they knew how to hire a great marketer to solve their problem, they would have already. And so we reserve the right to do that. We're not a staffing firm or that type of thing. And I always stand behind this. And a lot of times people want big charisma. And so, I mean, I'm a professional speaker. I'm also a high I. This is what I do. It's my favorite component. My charisma does not determine whether or not I'm a great marketer, nor does it determine if I'm the one that's right to hit your to challenge you, to hold you accountable, and to hit your results. And so I think it is, and I think we see this a lot in hiring mistakes on marketers, is because marketers are trained communicators, especially the more seasoned they are. We sound amazing. Yes. We are really, really, really good. But I mean, we see this a lot where unfortunately, directors of marketing are set up for failure and the client is set up for failure because they were prioritizing sizzle and wow and charisma versus, what they really needed and the capability set behind that. So yeah, it's a big one. Okay. I think to wrap this one up, because this is so fun for me, I just am there's so much good stuff you guys need to know about building amazing collaborations that just take you to the moonshot, So I get really excited about this one. But I think let's go ahead and wrap up a couple different things on what to pay attention to and how to really get the most out of a B2B marketing consultant. So I'm going to go ahead and start real quick. I know I'm stating the obvious, but we see this one all the time. Make sure your marketing consultant is tracking and make sure you understand what they're tracking.
Yes. Metrics, reporting, and reporting on the metrics that you have agreed together are the most important.
100%.
And please don't ask for 100 points of data that you don't understand.
No, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
So the data that forms the decision-making criteria that makes you aware of your opportunities, risks, threats, et cetera, that's the stuff that you should be focusing on.
That's right.
I think marketers, if you're looking at a B2B marketing consultant and they are bringing you proactive recommendations, they're not being an order taker. They're being like, it's my job to keep my finger on the pulse of the market. It's my job to understand what's coming up for you and what your opportunities are. They should be bringing you those recommendations.
Yeah.
So that you can then collaborate in the decision making. But if all the ideas are coming from the CEO, then you haven't hired a CMO. You've hired a marketing tactician or a doer.
Yeah, exactly. And I we've talked about this, that healthy redundancy and the ability to be organized and to simplify. Here is where the impact comes from, because that can create strategic focus and strategic discipline for the client to not chase squirrels, to not be, what about this thing? Because that is the role of the marketing consultant, is to go it's not just what do we do, but it's also what do we ignore and why. And so I really always want to see just this really clean type of approach to execution and to, progress, making sure that things are getting done so that everybody is maintaining focus.
So there are a lot of things that you can do as a leader of a B2B company to get the most from your B2B marketing consultant. Number one, you need to participate fully. So really focus on building that collaborative relationship, because a good marketing consultant is going to want you to get results and they're going to want you to be successful. So the more you participate in building that success together, the better. The second thing I would say is focus on the executability of the marketing strategy and the marketing plan. So don't get distracted by, oh, here's all the things we could do if we had all the money and time in the world. You don't. None of us do. So focus on, are the things that we're going to be working on together the things that we actually have the ability and the resources, the time and the attention to do.
I love it. That practicality. And I think for me, it loops full circle back to knowing what problem you're solving. And there's a lot of different ones, and it depends on what scenario you're in. So one example is the problem you're trying to solve is that people don't know who you are. Okay, well, that impedes your ability to drive revenue if you don't have enough reach and if you're completely invisible.
Right. And of course, people don't know who you are when you haven't penetrated your market fully. But even if they do know who you are, do they care? If the problem is that they're like, oh, yeah, it's just another company that does that, then what is your marketing really doing for you? You need to be aiming at what's the urgent, expensive problem that we're solving and how do we do it uniquely in a way that our competitors can't match.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of competitors, it could be another one where you're just getting drowned out by competitors, or your messaging is too soft, so you're losing deals that you shouldn't have. You don't differentiate, you don't stand out. An add-on to that, because in this scenario, we're assuming you're doing things and you're getting nothing from it, or you don't know what you're getting from it. So then we've got a return on investment problem because you don't know the role and the goal of the tactics that you've chosen.
Sure. I think the next one, this is the one that we hear so very frequently, is marketing is just not giving me ROI. So when you're working with a B2B marketing consultant, if they're telling you the same thing that everybody else is telling you that was getting the no results, it's going to be rinse and repeat. It's not going to be better this time. You should be hearing something different from a good B2B marketing consultant who's, maybe the others were giving you okay advice, but it wasn't being executed. But in that case, that should be what the consultant is telling you. And this is how we fix execution.
Exactly.
If it's just the same as what you've always heard before, it's not going to deliver different results.
Exactly. Another one is sometimes people really do have a lead generation problem. Mm-hmm. And so is it that you don't have enough? Is it that you are not pushing them out further enough? Like you don't know where they're going to come from next quarter? Or is it that you have a quality of lead problem? So, if you do have a lead generation problem, drilling down into those specific areas about what's the real nature of the leads.
For sure. And then looking at the full marketing and sales cycle. So if you're getting ghosted in the sales process, if things are just falling out of the funnel, there's something going on. It's often something that marketing can help address. If it's not just your whole sales team is horrible, which is usually not the case. It's often they don't have the tools, they don't have the assets, or they just don't have the messaging choreography where they can put things in the right place to shorten the timeline. Sometimes they need to be talking a lot less. Sometimes they need to be not overwhelming their prospects with so much information. But marketing, because we are the communicators, salespeople are really good at that responsive, reactive piece where they're in the moment with the prospect. Marketers are the ones that plan in advance exactly how every conversation is going to go.
Yes.
That's what we do. Let us help with that.
Exactly. And just to add on to that, we mentioned this earlier, so I won't belabor it. Do you have a win-loss, a closing ratio problem? Do you have a client churn problem? Are there places where your revenue is leaking out of your P&L, basically? Because you can't scale if you're not fortifying your growth system long-term.
Yes. And then are you taking advantage of marketing for upselling and cross-selling? So are you making the most of the clients that you do have? Are you leveraging marketing to make sure you're maximizing that most profitable revenue, which is your existing customers, because it's way easier to get more revenue from them than it is to go out and find new ones.
Oh my gosh, I love that one. We do see this one a lot. Sometimes the problem is that you can't reach your target market or you don't know how, and especially with niche type of, products or services, or where the decision maker's title is different or the owner of the pain is different inside of organizations. This one can be really challenging. And if it's a hidden problem, but that's the root cause, this one's really dangerous in just understanding, oh, we don't have a set of tactics that is keeping us laser focused on the real humans we need to reach.
I think another good one, and this is related to the not getting ROI piece, but it's doing a lot of marketing stuff that's not producing results.
Yeah.
Often when we work with a client who's in that position, usually larger, more mature companies that have just bloated all their marketing stuff that they're doing, the first thing we do is turn that off, stop doing that. That's a waste of time. Ignore that. That doesn't matter. So understanding that it's getting down to what is the core piece of marketing that's going to drive the maximum value for your business. And it usually doesn't look like 50 tactics.
No.
It looks like a handful of the right tactics relentlessly executed.
Exactly. And we could go on and on, but I think I'm going to bring up one final one, because I think what we're pointing at is prioritizing the right thing. There are oftentimes scenarios where there really are a million great things that you could do. You cannot do them all at the same time. So which ones are important right now, and where's the strategic focus to really maintain that progress on the right goal and making sure that everyone is in agreement with what's the right activities? We obviously are super biased towards hiring a B2B marketing consultant. And one of the additional things I'll add about that is because you have an external facilitator where there are no sacred cows for them, they are not maneuvering politics, they don't even know some of the landmines that might be existing on why your team is not asking certain questions or speaking up. It can be wildly beneficial to have that fresh perspective and to get everybody organized and sitting on the same side of the table together and unified. So we really believe in this, but most of all, that fit, right? Number one, you need to believe that it's going to work. Number two, you need to do a lot of healthy research and thorough investigation of who's the right consultant for you. And then number three, jump all in. Like, it's only all of your goals and all of your potential on the other side. And so it might just be the best investment you've ever made. Well, you guys, thank you so much. Daisy, thank you so much. And go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And you know what? I would also challenge you. We would love to hear your stories. Unfortunately, we know a lot of people have gotten burned. So what did we miss? What's the advice that you could add in the comments to help people beware of dangerous situations, whether it's things that they own or shysters out there where you want to help other people not be taken advantage of? So we appreciate you so much, and we will see you on the next episode. Onward and upward.